Pro Wrestling Weekly. For over 20 years, the revolutionary force in sports entertainment radio talk.
Is cooking.
WBCB presents Pro Wrestling Weekly,
the longest-running pro wrestling radio talk show in the history of terrestrial radio.
And he's obviously Michael Cole.
Call in with a question or comment at 215-949-3232 or 888-922-2149.
You really do sound like a
grizzled old vet. Is that what you were going with there?
Yes.
To not get you in trouble?
Oh, I'll get in trouble at some point. Believe me, I'll do something.
Well, to keep you out of trouble in this case, at least.
And now here are your hosts of Pro Wrestling Weekly, Fearon Derry and Lucas DeSangro.
Ooh, I'm getting good at this radio thing.
Yeah. It only took you 5.5 years.
I'm not good at it yet. I'm starting.
Yeah.
Only slightly.
Slowest escalator upward.
Shut up!
There's the sound of the bell, and we are set to go. This is Pro Wrestling Weekly here on 1490 WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com. Fearon Derry here with you, flying solo on a rather milestone day, which it's unfortunate that my cohort Twitch is not here today. And we'll get a little bit more into that over the course of the hour here, as today happens to fall on a little bit of an anniversary for a little Twitchy poo there. Yeah, it's debating as I do. I can get into it now just to kind of keep things a little bit lighthearted here. So it was actually on this date. Yeah, it's almost like pro wrestling or today in wrestling history. A little bit earlier on, as usually we have that a bit later. But in this case, well. It was on this date 6 years ago, 2013, that a much squeakier voiced Lucas made his official debut. Let's turn back the clock 6 years to August 3rd, 2013.
Number 20, you have a potentially dangerous urge to jump off ladders. I've thought about it.
No.
I did not. My dad and I used to do yard work with him. I used to, after what I did. I didn't jump off the top of the ladder. We were at the side of the house, but I did what I had done was I got up 3 spokes because I was little, but I did the Shawn Michaels thing. But
like the leaping splash that you see in the highlights on Razor Ramon.
I was smart
and landed on your feet,
and then just did a barrel roll, and I'm just yay!
That's about exactly. With nothing to break your fall.
We're gonna block SmackDown for a little bit, Lucas. Okay, Dad.
How'd that work out for you?
I was very defiant. I snuck it over my friend's house, and he doesn't even like wrestling. He doesn't even... Turn this off, Lucas, please.
That was some early banter. I meant to bring up the introduction first. This was the introduction from August 3rd of 2013.
We got all kinds of fun stuff here, including a new wrinkle to the show. That's right, we have an intern. Yes, and one who actually knows and is willing to talk about a lot of different things in professional wrestling. We have Lucas. I've been calling him the Prodigy because he certainly has a lot of knowledge, not to build him up too much here. I don't want to put too much hype out there, but he reminds me a lot of me at 15, which means you probably haven't done a lot of dates so far.
You had to curse the kid, didn't you?
Yeah, I know.
Oh, jeez.
But Lucas, all fun and jokes aside, although we're going to get back to him really quickly, I'm sure. Welcome to the program, and get ready for a lot of fun.
Thank you.
They don't call him the best color man in the business for nothing, folks.
He's a color guy, is he?
Nick Cataldi in there as well. Man, some great memories from looking back. It's unfortunate that he couldn't be here. He was assisting some colleagues with something, and it took longer than he had anticipated. And he wanted to be here really badly. He did apologize profusely, but. When you get to be a big star, that's how these things sometimes happen. See, I built him up too much 6 years ago, and now he runs off on his own. That's kind of how that goes, apparently. But no, in all seriousness, it's been certainly a wild ride having him along with the program the last 6 years. You never know where things are going to go with him necessarily, and that's part of what makes it both fun and adventurous at the same time. Now, somebody who certainly had his share of adventure and unfortunately, well, he had passed away earlier this week. A big story from the day before yesterday. Harley Race, he pretty much well-traveled wrestler, 8-time world heavyweight champion. He unfortunately had passed away at the age of 76 this past Thursday, the 1st of August, unfortunately thanks to lung cancer. The litany of accolades that he had over the years. The 8-time NWA World Heavyweight Champion. He competed all over in not only the National Wrestling Alliance, but the AWA up in Minnesota, the World Wrestling Federation, as well as World Championship Wrestling toward the tail end of his career. And then even still involved himself in the business well after his in-ring time had ended. And he is one of just 6 men to be inducted into each of the WWE Hall of Fame, the NWA Hall of Fame, the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame, and the Wrestling Observer Newsletter Hall of Fame. He was certainly one of the best in a long, just longevity and everything else, to say the least. His feuds with Ric Flair in the 70s and 80s were very well noted. They headlined the first Starrcade pay-per-view for the NWA back in 1983. He definitely... I did not get to see much of his career, obviously, as a lot of it was well before I was born, but his legend is certainly well-traveled, having feuded with so many greats over the years. I mentioned Flair, but also, Terry Funk, Superstar Billy Graham, Bob Backlund, Nick Bockwinkel, Andre the Giant, just to name a few. And even, well, to a lesser degree as his time had... his in-ring career was kind of winding down a little bit, and you could kind of tell when he got to the World Wrestling Federation, but he still ended up winning the King of the Ring tournament back in 1986 and coming out as King Harley Race. And oddly enough, his entrance theme would go on to be much more recognized by Jerry the King Lawler for a long period of his career. But prior to that Great Gates of Kiev of pictures in an exhibition by Mussorgsky, easy for me to say, that initially was through Harley Race. And a lot of the things that Jerry Lawler took from, I think a lot of that came from the behavior of Harley Race, having people bow and kneel before him and everything of that nature, even leading to a feud leading up to WrestleMania 3 with the Junkyard Dog, based on that whole bowing and kneeling and everything of that nature. So just to name a few. I could spend the entire hour going over notable highlights of Harley Race's career. He would go on to be a manager in WCW, having a stable including people like Big Van Vader. Super Invader, as he was known in WCW, but probably better known to everybody as Hercules in the WWF, as well as Vinny Vegas, who would go on to be Diesel and better known by his real name Kevin Nash, just to name a few. There's been a lot of different issues and incidents here as far as just the involvement of the career of Harley Race. And even looking through, he made his one last return to WCW in October of '99. He was the ring announcer in his hometown of Kansas City in the Bret Hart against Chris Benoit tribute match to Owen Hart, as that was in the Kemper Arena, the same building where Owen had died for the World Wrestling Federation earlier that year. And then, he even made appearances for TNA as a supposed authority figure, part of the NWA Championship Committee, made the occasional on-screen appearance, but he was also inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. He was in a lot of Hall of Fames. We'll put it that way. He's the 2004 WWE Hall of Fame, the 1994 WCW Hall of Fame. He was inducted into the Stampede Wrestling Hall of Fame. Just to name a few. He was also inducted twice into the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame and Museum, once in 2004 as a singles competitor, and a second time just 2 years ago as part of a tag team with Larry the Axe Hennig. Just the accolades go on and on for Harley Race, and he will definitely be missed by the wrestling world, as I even happened to have been out Thursday night, and it was such a notable name that even ESPN had the news on their crawl at the bottom. So, yeah, it is. It's a rough loss to say the least. I mean, any loss in professional wrestling is when you look at a legendary figure like Harley Race, Handsome Harley Race, the King Harley Race, whichever name you want to go with for him. It is. It is a challenge, to say the least. Wow. Well, I don't know. Where exactly do you bring it up from there? I mean, I guess you have nowhere to go but up from that point here, and that's the drawback to having to report passings and things of that nature here. I guess one other kind of not so great news. We'll kind of get that all out of the way in the beginning here, and then we'll kind of reset and get things moving in a different direction on the other side here. But another wrestling legend, Jerry the King Lawler, speaking of kings, he has filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Hardeman County, Tennessee, over the death of his son, Brian Christopher Lawler. The lawsuit cites numerous failures of the county and its employees that resulted in the wrongful death of his son. Now, Brian Lawler, at age 46, he had passed away after he was found hanging in a jail cell. And that I believe Jerry Lawler is kind of holding the county responsible for not keeping track of him, I guess, or allowing him to be in that particular situation, as it was just over 1 year ago. He actually had filed the lawsuit this past Monday, which was 1 year to the day of his passing at the age of 46. So, not sure how exactly that's going to go. It just is, it's just very, very unfortunate, to say the least, as how all that's going to go down. I mean, I don't know. It's a rough situation, to say the least. I mean, Lawler had been, the younger Lawler had been jailed for driving under the influence and evading police, and I guess he felt that things had gone downhill enough to take his own life, and I guess because of the lack of observation, allegedly, on the county jail's part, that's what led to the hanging. But that's what the courts will all decide. That's all yet to be figured out and whatnot. Now, what we have figured out here on the show, we got a lot more news and notes to get into. We are just a week and a day away from SummerSlam up north of the border, up in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. We'll go over the 9 matches so far set on the card, including a notable local name that is going to be making a return to the ring. That's one of the matches that was set up here. Also, an interesting show that we get to talk about that's going to be making its way to Netflix. Rather interesting one, to say the least. It's definitely got some huge following. We'll put it that way here. Also, a little bit more info on Starrcast Weekend, as that's just coming up. Actually, little under 4 weeks from now starts Starrcast Weekend as part of the all-out festivities that'll be going on in Chicago. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. Plus, we've got some AEW news as related to their new TV program, which will be debuting in just 2 months. That's right, that'll be debuting on TNT. We talked a little bit about it last week, and we've got some info as far as matches that are set for it, as well as another pot shot fired back. We'll get into the specifics of those On the other side, we'll also talk some WWE ratings and schedulings and things of that nature. Plus a signing from Impact, just to name a few things here. We'll get all that going your way on the other side, plus the usual birthdays today in wrestling history, all the other stuff that we have here on Pro Wrestling Weekly on 1490 WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com.
Hi, this is Dr. Lee Piccarello inviting you to tune in every Friday morning at 8 a.m. to The Head Game, a must-listen show for athletes and coaches of all levels and ages. Mindful Athlete Training in Newtown, Pennsylvania is a mental circuit training program that prepares the athletes to perform at the highest level of today's game. Athletes get into the zone faster and stay there longer. Tune in every Friday morning at 8 a.m. right here on WBCB 1490 AM and throughout the world at WBCB1490.com.
Hi, this is Leanne Womack. I fell in love with country music as a child listening to my dad spin records at a radio station. I always dreamed of hearing my own songs on the radio. I set a goal and achieved it. You can do anything if you set your mind to it. Never let anyone tell you it's impossible. So if you have the chance to sit it out or dance, I hope you dance.
This message brought to you by the U.S. Air Force.
All commentators heard on WBCB express their own views. Their opinions are not necessarily those of others on WBCB, including the staff and management.
WBCB is starting its first ever Summer of Fun. Make sure the summer is a splash by tuning in to WBCB 1490 for your chance to win some free summer swag. Listen in Fridays between 2 and 3 p.m. to win cool gear and tickets for super fun activities in Bucks County. That's each Friday from 2 to 3 p.m. for the Summer of Fun giveaway hour for free summer swag right here on WBCB.
Choose fresh, local Pennsylvania milk. It's naturally packed with 9 essential nutrients. Just what you need to power through the day and fuel your body and mind. Milk also builds stronger communities, providing jobs and pumping billions of dollars into Pennsylvania's economy every year. And it all starts with you. Choose PA Dairy. Goodness that matters to your family and our communities. Look for labels with PA Preferred or Code 42. Find stores at choosepadairy.com. Paid for by the Pennsylvania Dairymen's Association.
See, he's got the Luigi death stare from Fearon, so he might have...
I didn't give you the Luigi death stare. That's not true.
You're breaking kayfabe.
Breaking kayfabe. I'm going to break something else during this commercial.
There we go. That's what I like to see.
And now, more Pro Wrestling Weekly with your hosts, Fearon Derry and Lucas DeSangro.
Are we getting into that controversy again?
I know how it feels, and it's not fun.
Welcome back to Pro Wrestling Weekly here on 1490 WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com. Fearon Derry here with you, flying solo today. Yes, the reason being, well, Twitch, conspicuous by his absence, he was helping out some colleagues, and it turned out that the assistance took longer than realized and that he wouldn't be able to make it today, which is unfortunate, as today is it celebrates 6 years to the day that, Lucas has been involved with this fine program here. So I was hoping to have a little bit of needling, a little bit of Mahoney busting, but it was not to be. And Mitch, he is currently on a family vacation. So after having occupational obligations last week, is starting to get on that Twitch schedule of being a little bit more sporadic, but he is hoping to return for next week's program. Time will certainly tell on that, and hopefully we'll have Twitch back as well for the big SummerSlam preview. Although that being said, we'll go over the matches that are currently on the docket for SummerSlam, as they're certainly subject to change, and so far 9 different matchups that are in play here. First off, we've seen, we've talked a little bit about it, Finn Balor, the Demon in a sense, although the Demon character not in play, at least as of yet, against The Fiend and Bray Wyatt, who had a pretty awesome appearance, actually not too far from here, down maybe about an hour away in the Gloucester Premium Outlets down there in South Jersey. And it was a rather nice turnout for that, from what I was told. So, yeah, Bray Wyatt just 8 days away from taking on Finn Balor. Also, the United States Championship on the line. AJ Styles defending against Ricochet. And we know those two have been putting on some clinics already, so I think fans certainly clamoring for a rematch and hoping that there isn't involvement from the remainder of the OC there, the original club, as they're referring to themselves. I'm sure that's at least the acronym I'm going with. I know it's something different. Also, The Miz and Dolph Ziggler, which is interesting because for a long time both of these guys were not exactly fan favorites. So it's kind of interesting to see how they'll do against one another as they move forward here. So that should it'll certainly be interesting here, to say the least. And kind of funny how they it just feels like just a couple of weeks ago that they had renamed the club the OC, I guess, just to make sure that there's no original and only club. That's what original, official, and only, for those who may have missed that. So also some of the ones that we had announced previously: Kevin Owens against Shane McMahon, and if Owens loses, he will quit WWE. Well, that, unless there's something that Shane puts on the line there that, for me, is a little bit of a tell, unless there's something that I missed regarding Owens' contract, but I really don't believe that is the case here. So, yeah, I would like to think that Shane would at least put something on the line, but I don't know. Maybe they're looking to drag it out another month here for potentially. Also, the Raw Women's Championship on the line. Becky Lynch taking on Natalya. Yeah, it's good to see. Now, I have a hunch, given that it's in Canada, Natalya, part of the Hart family, are we going to see a Sharpshooter Montreal recreation now that it's been 22 years later, or will Vince and WWE know enough to leave well alone with that? It's kind of already been done a lot, and that's pretty much where we're going to leave that, just for sake and safety purposes. So yeah, The Miz and Dolph Ziggler, by the way, that came about a week ago, as Shawn Michaels, the guest on Miz TV, was interrupted by Dolph Ziggler, and there was a lot of comparisons between Ziggler and Michaels over the years. Miz intervened, Ziggler left, Michaels pulled him back, Ziggler attempted to kick Michaels or attack him, avoided the punch, and Ziggler instead hit Miz, and then Ziggler hit a super kick on Michaels, and that set up the Miz versus Ziggler match, although I think a lot of people were wondering, is this going to be a Shawn Michaels-Dolph Ziggler match? Almost a kind of a mirror match type thing, but no, 'tis not to be. That ship probably sailed almost about a decade ago, unfortunately. But certainly would have been an interesting one. As noted for a while, you've got Brock Lesnar defending the Universal Championship against Seth Rollins after having successfully cashed in at Extreme Rules, the Money in the Bank contract, and took out Rollins following the main event of Extreme Rules. Then over on the SmackDown side, you've got Bayley defending the SmackDown Women's Championship against Ember Moon. Moon, the recent qualifier here. And then you've got the WWE Championship, Kofi Kingston, who wanted Randy Orton as his opponent, and a little bit of a reference to their past feud back a decade ago, where Orton used his influence to keep Kingston out of the main event scene, and that has had a lot of, I guess, art imitating life or life imitating art, something along those lines here. And finally, the one that was added as well as part of the Raw reunion and everything, Charlotte Flair, well, she had noted that she wasn't scheduled to compete at SummerSlam, and she said she was going to be at SummerSlam to prove that she was the greatest female superstar of all time. Cue a Hall of Famer who would go on to, well, challenge that claim this past week on the King's Court, a special Jerry Lawler King's Court. Hall of Famer Trish Stratus came out and was interrupted by Flair, and that's where the challenge came into play and was accepted. So yes, Trish Stratus, the Hall of Famer, coming essentially out of retirement to challenge Charlotte Flair, and that certainly should be a goodie as well. So there you have it. Those are your 9 matches so far, but as you know, the card is always subject to change for SummerSlam a week from tomorrow. Now, another interesting announcement from Netflix. They announced this past Tuesday that The Big Show show. Yeah, that's not a stutter on my part. It's a half-hour multi-camera comedy series starring WWE superstar The Big Show. That's right. Production on the 10-episode series will begin in Los Angeles on August 9th, this coming Friday. And a few interesting executive producers in the mix. Josh Bicel, who's part of Happy Endings, Scrubs, and American Dad, as well as Jason Berger, who was also part of Happy Endings, as well as LA to Vegas. They're going to serve as the executive producers and showrunners. And executive producers for WWE Studios include Susan Levison and Richard Lowell. Now, it's obviously going to star The Big Show, Paul White, who's been with WWE and also was in Fighting With My Family. And it's also going to star Allison Munn from Nikki, Ricky, Dickie, and Dawn. Also, Raylan Castor from American Housewife and Juliette Donenfeld from Pete the Cat, as well as Lily Brooks O'Brien from The Tick, just to name a few. Now, what the show is going to be about? Well, it says when the teenage daughter of The Big Show, a retired world-famous WWE superstar, comes to live with him, his wife, and his other 2 daughters, he quickly becomes outnumbered and outsmarted. Despite being 7 feet tall and weighing 400 pounds, he is no longer the center of attention. The Big Show show is Netflix's latest project with WWE Studios following the recent announcement of the family film The Main Event. The comedy series joins a growing slate of live-action series featuring kids and teens and made for families, which includes Family Reunion, Malibu Rescue, No Good Nick, Alexa and Katie, and the upcoming series The Letter for the King, and The Babysitters Club. Yeah, taking the books and bringing them there. It also mentions WWE Studios. That's WWE's multi-platform content division that develops and produces scripted and non-scripted series, documentaries, and feature films. Their recent projects include Andre the Giant, the Emmy-nominated documentary in partnership with HBO, as well as hit shows Total Divas and Total Bellas on E, as well as Ms. and Mrs. on USA. They also recently produced the feature film Fighting With My Family in association with MGM and $7 Productions. It's The Rock's company, and is currently in production on The Main Event, a feature film for Netflix, as well as Fight Like a Girl, an unscripted series for Quibi. Yeah, a lot there going on with the Big Show show going on, to say the least. Also, some interesting news here, courtesy of Impact Wrestling, as they announced the signing of Tenille Dashwood on Monday night. Now, the terms of the deal have not been disclosed, but Impact has announced that Dashwood will debut in Mexico City on August 15th and 16th, so a couple weeks away from seeing that debut here. And also a bit of a press release to note and kind of bring a little bit of hype to Starrcast Weekend, which is coming up just about 4 weeks from now, heading into the all-out pay-per-view, which is 4 weeks from tonight. Labor Day weekend in Chicago will once again be Starrcast Weekend, as the 3rd installment of the wildly popular Professional Wrestling Fan Fest returns to the Hyatt Regency in Schaumburg for 4 days of stage shows, photo opportunities, parties, and autograph signings. Headlining Starrcast III will be a rare on-stage interview along with meet-and-greet opportunities with former world champion, Chicago native, and one of the most controversial figures to ever step inside the squared circle, CM Punk. Organizer and creator Conrad Thompson, he says, quote, "The goal of every Starrcast is to provide wrestling fans with experiences that they can't get anywhere else. Getting CM Punk on stage for a one-time only interview certainly fits the bill." Punk has said that he only does 1 or 2 of these type of events a year, so we are very honored and excited to have him. Giving him a live microphone and a platform to tell his story is going to be a can't-miss event. Adding into that, as far as I'm concerned, hopefully that can't-miss event won't be something that will lead to more legal wranglings, as has occurred with the Colt Cabana podcast and all the fallout between WWE as well as between Punk and Cabana regarding that. So a live microphone is a bit of a double-edged sword in a sense here. It goes on to say, from Thursday, August 29th through Sunday, September 1st, fans from all over the world will travel to the Chicagoland area to celebrate current, past, and future legends of professional wrestling. Fans who can't make it to the Windy City can access more than 20 hours of Starrcast III content live and on demand through digital live streaming network Fight.tv and the Fight mobile app for only $39.99. And it says, in addition, fans who order Starrcast 3 will have access to all of the stage shows, panels, and activities from Starrcast 1 and 2. Thompson also adding, Chicago has turned into the professional wrestling capital in the United States. Last year at the first Starrcast, we had nearly 11,000 attendees come to a first-time fan fest. This year, we return with another stacked lineup, and we are looking to over-deliver for both the people in attendance and for those watching worldwide on Fight. We are also excited to offer all of the Starrcast 1 and Starrcast 2 content to those who purchase this year's event. In total, we are giving fans over 50 shows and over 60 hours of content for $39.99. Now it goes on to say, talent scheduled to appear at Starrcast 3 includes legends Mick Foley, Sting, Scott Hall, Jerry the King Lawler, the Mouth of the South Jimmy Hart, Medusa, also known as Alundra Blaze, Diamond Dallas Page, and Tony Schiavone, along with some of the biggest names in wrestling today like Jon Moxley, Brandy Rhodes, and the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson. So, yeah, we'll talk a little bit later on the other side about the different stage shows, as there are some details that come into that. We'll also get into... Yeah, we'll get into that on the other side as well. The additional info regarding the debut program on TNT for All Elite Wrestling. And WWE, well, they've brought up a couple of cancellations of some various events. So we'll let you know what's going on with that, and how the results of the Raw reunion from a couple of weeks ago, well, that was rather short-lived in terms of viewers on the television screen for Raw. Yeah, we'll get into those numbers on the other side, plus a whole bunch more. This is Pro Wrestling Weekly here on 1490 WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com.
Are you a parrot head?
Away again in Margarita.
Not that kind. That's more like it. If you're this kind of parrot head, don't forget to check out the Denny O Polka Show every Saturday from 9 a.m. to noon right here on 1490 WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com.
Energy costs are skyrocketing. Now's the time to upgrade your old heater and air conditioning systems to more efficient units to save on your utility bills. Harris Comfort can also handle all your propane needs, as well as providing sales and service on whole house generators. Harris Comfort is still family owned and has been serving our area for over 60 years, providing sales, service, installation, and peace of mind. Call 215-788-4596 or go to harriscomfort.com. Harris Comfort, still family and still local.
You won't see termites crawling across your floor, but thousands might be devouring the wood in your walls, weakening the structure of your home. For over 50 years, Termite Proofing and Pest Control of the Delaware Valley has been in the exterminating business. If you think you have a pest problem, they're the experts. Call them today at 215-639-5455. That's 215-639-5455 for TPPC. Termite Proofing and Pest Control of the Delaware Valley gives your home or business peace of mind, knowing your pest problem is in their hands. Located at 1560 Bristol Pike in Bensalem, they use only EPA-approved material applied by licensed technicians. Call Termite Proofing and Pest Control of the Delaware Valley at 215-639-5455.
Your
Crayola Experience in Easton, PA, now filled with even more of Crayola's latest and greatest hits, including 4 new attractions. New this summer. Color your free Scribble Scrubby pet. Scrub it clean, then do it again. Also new, watch your design rock the runway. Bring your silly selfie to the big screen. And discover interactive fun with new Create and Play. Plus 23 more hands-on attractions with tons of colorful Crayola keepsakes.
Come see what's new at Crayola Experience in Easton, PA.
Pro Wrestling Weekly presents Today in Wrestling History, August 3rd. On this date in 1997, the WWF held its SummerSlam pay-per-view. In the main event, Bret Hart pinned The Undertaker to win the WWF World Heavyweight Championship. On this date in 1998, WCW Monday Nitro aired live from Denver, Colorado. In the main event, Scott Hall and The Giant defeated Bret Hart and Sting by disqualification. On this day in 2009, WWE Monday Night Raw aired live from Uncasville, Connecticut. In the main event, John Cena pinned The Miz in a lumberjack match. On this date in 2015, WWE Monday Night Raw aired live from San Jose, California. In the main event, Dean Ambrose, Roman Reigns, and Randy Orton defeated Bray Wyatt, Luke Harper, and Sheamus in a 6-man tag team match. This has been Today in Wrestling History, August 3rd.
Welcome back to Pro Wrestling Weekly here on 1490 WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com. Fearon here with you, flying solo today as Mitch is on a family vacation and Twitch is, he was helping out a colleague and it turns out that it took longer than anticipated. So as much as he wanted to be here today on 6 years to the day since he debuted here, unfortunately he was unable to make it in, and he apologizes profusely for not being able to do so. So hearing that today in wrestling history, that got me to thinking a little bit. That 1997 SummerSlam, that was a really early SummerSlam. You're used to SummerSlam being kind of the last week in August, kind of that last hurrah for the quote-unquote summer before Labor Day and back to school and everything of that nature. But for some reason, they had it super early on August 3rd, and that a lot of people and historians point to that pay-per-view as the unofficial start to the Attitude Era, as that was what led to all of the events that would transpire a few months later. That was kind of the catalyst, I suppose, for what would occur in Montreal in Survivor Series of '97 that has been talked about quite a bit. That kind of sparked that whole thing. That was also where, in a not so much an attitude-ish type thing, but certainly something that had a ripple effect on the World Wrestling Federation as a whole, the Intercontinental title match between Stone Cold Steve Austin and Owen Hart, and that was where the botched tombstone piledriver by Owen ended up giving Austin a stinger, a temporary paralysis in the ring, and that led to neck issues that would force him to retire just 6 years after that in 2003. Now, thankfully, after neck surgery in 2000, his neck's in good shape, but it certainly cut his career short when he was ultimately at the top of the world as far as the top of the World Wrestling Federation as well during that 98, 99, 2000 period. That a lot of that may have been cut short because of that injury. So who knows, had that not gone the way that it did, what effect that would have had for Stone Cold Steve Austin, for example. And that also was the event that put the personality of Mick Foley as Mankind on the map, as you got to see his diversity, as there were glimpses of a character that would come out for a little bit that was part of his early persona in Dude Love during the cage match against Triple H, Hunter Hearst Helmsley. So a lot of I mean, as you look at it up and down, a lot of names from the Attitude Era certainly making their presence noted and felt throughout that pay-per-view. So, I don't know, that's just something that kind of jumped out at me as I was thinking about it, hearing the Today in Wrestling History report. Now, one other thing that was rather interesting, and this came from Booker T's podcast. I know that I've been saying more good things than not regarding the 24/7 championship, but not everybody is as rosy about everything going on here. Sure, it's providing great entertainment value, but Booker T providing a bit of a contrarian stance toward the 24/7 title. He said in his podcast, quote, "I have my own wrestling promotion, Reality of Wrestling, so I don't know. You have to go to the senses of the WWE Universe and ask what they think about having a title on the show. My thing is this, titles do have meaning behind them. They do have some relevancy, and at the end of the day, you want it to mean something. So I'm just trying to figure out where they're going, and after the Raw reunion, I'm still searching for its meaning." He's referring to the 9 title changes that occurred at Raw Reunion, with R-Truth and Drake Maverick being the only 2 of the 9 winners who are active WWE competitors. As, yeah, the title definitely changed hands just a little bit that night, as it has been for quite a while, but that was particularly all over the place. We'll put it that way here. I mean, it's kind of gone back and forth with some various competitors, but yeah, the Raw Reunion having it go from R-Truth to Drake Maverick to Pat Patterson, who, wow, yeah, he is. I mean, Patterson's got to be, what, in his late 70s at this point? I think 78, 79, something like that. So how he was able to pin Maverick and be able to, well, yeah, and then hilariously, the title then changed hands after that off screen as Patterson was pinned by good longtime friend and Stooge colleague Gerald Briscoe. So a 72-year-old 24/7 champion. And then from there, well, he ended up getting kneed low by Kelly, so she ended up holding the title for a little bit. Then Candice Michelle ended up pinning her. Then Alundra Blaze ended up taking it, and then Ted DiBiase ended up buying the title from Alundra Blaze, which was kind of a double reference to the past, as Alundra Blaze was about to throw the title in a trash can at the commentary table, like she did the WWF Women's Championship back in December of '95 on Monday Nitro, WCW, and Ted DiBiase, of course, attempting to buy the World Wrestling Federation Championship back in 1988 after Andre the Giant had defeated, quote-unquote, Hulk Hogan at the main event broadcast in February of 1988. So, and then eventually from there, well, DiBiase was pinned in the back of the limousine by Drake Maverick, and then ultimately R-Truth ended up heading out or attacking Maverick backstage as Maverick was trying to lead through. So there's certainly been a lot, and even now, I mean, after that had gone on, now this past week, your current 24/7 champion, Maria Kanellis, as Mike Kanellis had actually won the title, but then Maria forcing her husband to lay down and be pinned, as the continued emasculation storyline seems to be going on here. So Booker referencing all that here, he says he's fine with comic relief, but it shouldn't be reserved for championships, which should be viewed as something special. He says, back in the day, we always liked to have fun. We always went out on a weekly basis, especially with me and Goldust. The people that are doing it, you have to make it as real as you can, well, as real as you can possibly make it. And I think that if we don't do that, we can get lost in what it is we are trying to accomplish. And he goes on to say, and sometimes I think that if everybody's not on the same page, it can be convoluted, which is the way that I see it. I'm sure other people see it that way too, and at the end of the day, hopefully they will find their niche with that championship. But me personally, I'm all about going out there. As far as championships go, championships are one thing. Still going out and having comic relief on the show, that is another thing. He says, the Hardcore Championship, I became one 3 times, and it wasn't something that we played with or anything like that. I did it on a house show, and it was comic relief for that house, but not for TV, and that is what the difference was, I think. We didn't do a whole lot. We brought it to the house shows, which is where it really stuck and meant something, especially in this day and age because of social media, and you have 3 back-to-back house shows. I definitely think it can be used properly. Call me when you want the show being booked. So Booker T kind of... throw in the fact that pretty much, I mean, you have this championship that's supposed to be prestigious, yet you've got it being held by septuagenarians and women and other retired wrestlers, and there's certainly a lot of validity to it. That is for certain. So, looking here, we talked about on the other side here, prior to the break, about some of the stage shows going on at Starrcast III. We'll get into that in just a moment, but first, All Elite Wrestling. They're making their television debut on the TNT network in just 2 months. On August 2nd, it'll be Wednesday night, a 2-hour program, and they announced earlier this week the first match for its debut on TNT. They announced it's going to be Cody Rhodes against Sammy Guevara. That'll take place on the October 2nd broadcast from Washington, D.C.'s Capital One Arena. And as if that wasn't enough, additionally this week, AEW announced Chris Jericho and a pair of mystery partners, because mystery partners always provide intrigue. They're taking on Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks for that same show. Now, adding to the hype, because tickets went on sale yesterday, as well as, a little bit of kind of a firing back at WWE. Remember how last week we were talking about the WWE quarterly report and Vince McMahon had some not-so-nice words to say about AEW, referring to them as, quote, blood and guts? Well, in an attempt to hype that October 2nd show, Cody mentioned that among other things here, promoting that October 2nd show.
So how did all this begin? Was it with a club and a whisper? Or were these roots planted long ago? They said we couldn't. And Matt, Nick, and I said we could. And with All In, there was a satisfaction in proving people wrong. And then enter Kenny Omega, the Khan family, All Elite Wrestling. And the fans said that we could. And there was an equal satisfaction in proving people right. So what happens now? Plain and simple, wrestling fans and wrestlers alike have an opportunity to take back their space. Recently, there were some very public comments made about us where we were referred to as blood and guts. Blood and guts. And it was said with such a braggart candor that you would think the person saying it felt that they were bulletproof. But I wonder, before they said it, if they tasted their own words before they spit them out, because the entirety of our business is built on blood and guts. Every man or woman who ever stepped foot in the ring, regardless of race, color, creed, political affiliation, sexual identity, has felt blood and guts and passion. Because if we don't care, they don't care. So if you say we're blood and guts, I say, you bet you're blood and guts. Wrestling returns to TNT after 18 years, 18 long years. So I ask you once again, not us, who? If not now, when? So join us for history. October 2nd, Washington, D.C., the Capital One Arena. We need you now more than ever. I'm all in. Are you?
Well, I'm certainly digging the music. It gives it that very epic, it almost feels like a Braveheart type speech, or dare I say even even Bluto from Animal House, rallying the troops. Because nothing's over until they decide it is. Well, one thing it doesn't appear to be over, and not by any type of decision, is the declining draw of viewers to WWE. as following the draw of Raw Reunion almost 2 weeks ago, spiking the viewership to just over 3 million people and a 2.12 rating. This week, things fell back to below normal, losing almost 750,000 viewers on average and a rating of 1.65, which is below the rating of the standard show prior to the Raw Reunion. That was a 1.72 rating. A couple of other things of note here. WWE has announced the cancellation of some live events tonight in Bowling Green, Kentucky at the EA Diddle Arena, tomorrow in Danville, Illinois at the Davis S. Palmer Arena, and Monday in Kalamazoo, Michigan at the Wings Event Center. Now, WWE cited scheduling conflicts for each of the live event cancellations, but one has to wonder, is it scheduling conflicts that were the actual issue, maybe seeing folks from SmackDown on Raw, or were they canceled due to low ticket sales, or maybe a combination of the two, a little column A, a little column B? Certainly hard to say. And some notes back to Starrcast here real quick. They're going to have the official all-out press conference, as well as undesirable to undeniable, Cody, referring to the journey for Cody not being an easy one, and Tony Schiavone will sit down with him to discuss the peaks and valleys of his career. There'll also be a stage show regarding Jon Moxley. Jim Ross will be sitting down with him. Tony Schiavone will sit down with the women of AEW to discuss the impact women are having on the industry of professional wrestling. Also, lifestyles of the rich and famous MJF. He will be giving a candid look into his luxurious life. And also, Tales of a Hardcore Legend with Mick Foley. He'll bring his acclaimed one-man show to the Starrcast stage as well. That's all going on in Chicago 4 weeks from now. So, yeah, I believe we are at that point where it's... Ted, you want to take this? It's time for... Birthday! There we go. That's a one to add to the mix. So we've got 2 plus 6 Brucey bonuses. Firstly, in the world of wrestling, this one you might even know. On this date in 1966, Eric Scott Esch was born. The mixed martial artist and pro wrestler who competed at the In Your House Degeneration X as well as WrestleMania 15 pay-per-views known as Butterbean.
I've heard of it.
You've heard of him, yes. He turns 53 today. And on this date in 1982, Aaron Stephen Haddad was born, the former WWE Tag Team Champion and Impact Grand Champion known both as Aaron Rex and Damian Sandow. You're welcome. He turns 37 today. Now to the Brucey bonuses, things outside of the world of wrestling. Firstly, on this date in 1925, Marvin Daniel Levy was born. The former head coach of the Canadian Football League Montreal Alouettes and the NFL's Kansas City Chiefs and Buffalo Bills, leading the Bills to 4 straight conference championships in the early 1990s. He turns 94 today. Certainly a long storied career for Marv Levy. On this date in 1926, chart toppers and Italian-American show fans will know this, Anthony Dominic Benedetto was born. The 20-time Grammy Award-winning singer with hit songs including Rags to Riches, shout out to South Philly's finest, and I Left My Heart in San Francisco, known professionally as Tony Bennett. He turns 93 today. On this date in 1941, Martha Helen Kostura was born. The television personality and retail businesswoman known for, well, among other things, her variety talk shows Martha Stewart Living and The Martha Stewart Show. Well, she turns 78 today. Yes, Martha Stewart. On this date in 1950, John David Landis was born. The film director known for popular movies National Lampoon's Animal House. See why I mentioned that earlier, the Bluto thing, as well as The Blues Brothers, Trading Places, and Coming to America, as well as, and this is something I didn't know, he directed the music video to Michael Jackson's Thriller. Yes, John Landis, he turns 69 today. This one isn't for the current kiddies, but kids at heart will certainly remember this name. On this date in 1951, Jay Waverly North was born. The former child actor known for his title role in the television sitcom Dennis the Menace back in the late 50s and early 60s. He turns 68 today. And last but not least, on this date in 1977, Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr. was born. I know, get your boos out now for this one, or booing out, I should say. The record 6-time Super Bowl winning NFL quarterback for the New England Patriots. He turns 42 today. Defending Super Bowl champs and all, yes. Grumble, and all that, to say the least. With the Tom Brady and everything. So, A bit of a programming note here, as we are actually at 1 o'clock going to be signing off for about a 30-minute time period for some transmitter maintenance. So we'll be going off of the airwaves for about a half hour, but your standard WBCB programming will return when we sign back on once the transmitter maintenance has occurred. So those looking to tune into Country Roads, fret not. Ted will be here. We just got to do a little bit of transmitter maintenance so we can get the quality broadcast out there to you. And sometimes these things happen. You know, it's just something you have to deal with here. It's all part of it. I'll be back next week. Until then, play us out, Nutsy.
1 o'clock and all's well.
Serving you better than ever before. This is 1490 WBC.